My name is Gary Pagel.
All right. And so today's interview, we're going to be talking about more of the personal context, your biography, and your life with comics, and also how you got involved with Comic Con and placing it in the historical context of how Comic Con has grown from the '70s in its first incarnation to today. So the first question I got is, where did your interest in comics begin?
Well, I started life as a poor black child. No, it actually began when some special friends moved in next door to where I was living on 43rd Street in San Diego back in the 60s. Just wasn't on the map prior to that. Of course, I was watching Star Trek religiously on Friday nights, and that was great fun. But when the McClone brothers moved in next door to where we were living on 4236 43rd Street, that's where it really was exposed to me. Like all three brothers, David, Stephen, and Patrick McClone, were involved. And they happened to be a few years older than I was. I was like having my 13th birthday, summer of '69. And I think Patrick was in high school at that point. So I kind of got to be like the kid next door that just kind of got carried along with what they were into.
Okay. What comics did they introduce you into, or
Oh,
reading?
well, it was more Marvel, but there was still a DC involvement, Superman, Batman. It was Fantastic Four, Hulk, Submariner, Iron Man, all the biggies of Marvel was more what I was interested in. I still enjoyed Superman and Batman and such.
Okay, and you're still reading comics today?
I still do read, not all the time. Branched out, science fiction, just current events. It just comics I can really credit for giving me a love for reading. I don't know how life would have gone if not for getting involved in comics. Really did have a big formative part in growing up and becoming who I am.
Okay. You mentioned the McClone brothers. What involvement did they have at the time with the Comic Con organizing?
Well, actually, they seemed to be really ground floor. Their mom was typing up things for the first con, and I think it was summer of '69. Shell Dorff showed up over at the place. I got to meet Shell, and this was the beginning of the meetings for the first con, and I just ended up, going along with them. It was nice because my parents they wanted me to have something safe to do, right, with a group of people that seemed like was safe and could be trusted. So they just let me go along with what these guys were into.
Yes, and you said that the McClone brothers' mother was involved in helping the Comic Con.
Right.
Like, so was she, besides typing flyers, did she do anything else besides that?
I don't really know. This is more stuff that I heard of later. Uh, I just wasn't paying that much attention.
And you said you met Sheldorf with the McClone brothers. What was your first? How did you feel, like, or initial reactions meeting Sheldorf?
Oh, well, gosh, here's this guy with a toupee. And he's just got this interest and is an organizer. And he was a leader. And it was cool. He seemed like a good guy. And I definitely was interested in what I was interested in. So I was glad to have him around.
Did you meet anyone else that Sheldorf was organizing with?
Oh, yes. We went to the meetings, and there was, of course, Richard Elf, and Scott Shaw, Dave Pound, Mike Towery, Barry Alfonso, and just that core group. And so I was kind of one of the youngest kid there, or one of them, just being part of what the older kids were doing.
Did you get the chance to get to know Richard, Barry, Mike?
Not really, no, because I was just like the tag along with the McClones, and so it was kind of cool. I didn't have any responsibilities. I don't recall what I actually did, other than being able to meet the guys, see the artwork that they were doing, and just be in this group of people that loved comics.
Nice. So going into the first convention, the MiniCon in March of 1970, did you attend that?
Oh yes, it was down there in the U.S. Grant basement, and of course they had the dealers tables and everything. They had the chalk talks, like with I think it was Mike Royer that did a chalk talk, among other people. I believe Jack Kirby was there. Um, so it was nice. I hadn't been to conventions before, and so I had a good time. And it was actually that one, and then my family moved from San Diego where we were, and I was just pulled out of the situation, kind of. But we still kept in touch.
Okay. So did you continue going to Comic Con even though you moved, or when did you move first?
Oh well, the move was in December of '70, as I remember going, into ninth grade in this new school before Christmas, and it was just kind of cut things off, at that point. But I still occasionally went to a con, but it wasn't anything that I really was, oh, gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. It'd be something to do. Um, but still, just being involved in this really shaped my mind.
How did it shape your mind?
Well, it gave me fantastic ideas. Think out of the box. Um, Things can be more than the mundane. And I think that's helped me in a lot of areas.
Okay. Let's see. So at this point in time, are you still in San Diego?
Yes, I am still in San Diego.
So where did you move from being close to McGlone brothers? Did you move up North County, like
Oh, just out into El Cajon
Just El Cajon.
from central San Diego.
Okay. So which conventions did you attend later down the line through the years and at least through the 70s?
I can't name a specific year for any of these, as I just didn't keep up with it. Get an occasional, like nice T-shirt or something at the con, get some nice books, but I didn't record it. So it was nice feeling like I got into the ground floor of something that has really transformed into a worldwide pop culture event that's evolved and has gotten to the point where here I am sitting here.
So from the initial conventions that you attended, do you feel that Comic-Con has changed from what it initially was? And do you feel that there needs to be a harkening back to its original purpose?
Well, there's two sides to every coin, right? And going corporate has been a big boon, and then it's got its downside, and you lose intimacy and whatnot. But can't blame. No, it's not bad. It's not good. It just is. But it's nice to have all the exposure for the comics and fantasy and the fantastic and all the art. The world needs that.
So I know you seemed excited, like recalling that art, and like I got a little bit of excitement from you. Whose art were you focused on at the time, or do you have any particular favorite artists, writers?
Oh, no, it was just a lot of them. Everybody's got their own style, like Neil Adams, Jim Steranko, of course Kirby, the classics, and it certainly evolved from panels that you saw in the '60s to panels that you saw in the '80s. Things were different, a lot splashier, more expressive.
Okay. going back to, because you attended a lot of the organization meetings in the 69 to 70, correct?
Yeah.
Do you have any particular memories of any of the meetings or any of the relations between people?
Well, one memory is the guys going up to see Jack Kirby in his Irvine home, where you've seen this picture all over the place of Shell along with Mike Towery and Richard Alf and Barry Alfonso and stuff with Jack there in that black and white picture. And the panels and copies of art, and then original art that the guys would bring to the meetings. Stuff that Scott Shaw was doing, child type art, and
Did you ever attend the meetings at Ken Kruger's shop?
no, I don't recall going to a shop. These were in homes, like in somebody's covered patio. I had this feeling going back that I was involved in the meetings, kind of like if this was a Star Trek episode, I'd be the guy that was being pushed aside from the transporter because it wasn't working, and Scotty or Spock would take over. I wasn't even one of the guys in the red shirts that would get killed. It's like an extra.
You said that Scott Shaw's house was one of the meeting places. Did the meetings go to any of the other organizers or the core organizers' houses?
Well, it was a few different places, and it wasn't like super structured. Nobody was getting up and reading minutes or anything. It would just be, well, we've got these topics, and who's going to do this, who's going to do that.
So did it migrate from, say, Richard Alf's house, Sheldorf's house, Scott Shaw's house?
Yeah, it just kind of bounced around to my recollection.
How often did they meet when they were preparing this? Was it like a weekly thing or a monthly thing?
No, I don't think I was at all of them. And I was without my own transportation, so I was definitely a sidecar type guy with the McClone brothers. My parents weren't taking me to any of these things. They just kind of let me go.
Okay, so were your parents supportive of Comic-Con or of you reading comics?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that wasn't any problem. It gave me something to do, and like so many other kids, I'd sit down and I'd copy the drawings and the comics. And Stephen McClone influenced me to, pick up a pencil and draw and stuff, because he was more the artist in that brother group. And then Patrick, he had this like record collection, and he'd be pulling out things like The Crazy World of Arthur Brown, and Beatles, and Stones, Doors. So I was getting my cultural indoctrination, basically.
So that's an interesting statement of the cultural indoctrination, with the 60s relatively rolling around and then entering the 70s, and the events of the 70s, the cultural counterculture revolution, the Vietnam War. Does that play a formative role for you and the other members of the community?
Well, the whole mindset there was breaking out of the establishment and stuff. The general atmosphere was change. And had the war going on, had people walking on the moon. It was like things were breaking open.
Did it cause you to challenge and break open from?
Oh, well, I guess so, my thoughts. I wasn't I didn't feel like I was in a box.
Okay. Let's see. And for the McClone brothers, did they carry the same sort of involvement within the community that you did, or were they more involved?
I think David was the most involved, well, he was involved in the SCA too, Society for Creative Anachronism. So they'd go out and do their medieval combat and stuff.
Was that the first case of people dressing up for Comic-Con?
First case? Well, I think it's just a coincidence that SCA was in costume, and then you've got the superheroes in costume, and people dressing up for the superheroes.
So were there people dressing up on the March convention for?
Oh yeah,
There
there was a little bit of costume.
Okay. Do you remember any of them?
No.
You were a few years younger, you said, than your
Yes.
brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious, did you have other friends at school perhaps that were aware of Comic-Con, or did they know you were going to Comic-Con, and what were their reactions?
Not really. No, this was. I wasn't trying to spread the word or anything. This was just what I was involved in, and school was school, and I spent most of my friends were the people next door. Really.
And well, going to a sense of the promotion, were you hearing? Were people talking about Comic-Con outside of the McClellan brothers?
Well, the people that were talking about it were all people that I knew because of the McClellan brothers. So it's all kind of the same.
Okay. And when you move up and when you move and switch to a different school, is Comic-Con getting that sort of publicity at that time?
No, it was just I just went to school, and the Comic-Con was aside from what I was doing then.
Okay, so it remained pretty niche within
Right.
comic reading sci-fi community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm just curious, when did you get a sense that it was spreading beyond your circle of friends? Within San Diego, even?
Oh well, there'd always be the flyers and stuff, and I was still in contact with the brothers, but it just kept getting larger. More people. More big name guests at the cons and so forth. Just general growth to where it's mushroomed today. Any final thoughts?
Yes.
Just interested to see where it goes. If this event is then going to run along its own concurrent course with the corporate event that's going now, and I'll just see what happens.
Actually, I have one more question. Comic-Con is San Diego is most known event is Comic-Con. So, what role do you feel that San Diego plays in Comic-Con's growth?
In Comic-Con's growth, well, it's where it all began, and I just hope it can stay here. As I think I've heard this stuff about maybe moving to Los Angeles or something on that order. That'd be like sending the Chargers to Los Angeles. It just doesn't feel right.
Why should it stay?
Because this is where it started. It should be here.
Do you think that just because of the cultural and the personal connections to San Diego with the original founders is like?
Well, if it moves, then it's obviously more corporate, and that's got its benefits, but tradition is something nice too. And heck, who wants to go to LA when they can come to San Diego?